Welcome back to the Kaya Olson Show. So did you hear earlier this week when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi referred to the coronavirus as, quote, the Trump virus? Listen to this.
Well, I think with the president's comments today, he recognized the mistakes that he has made by now embracing mask wearing, and the recognition this is not a hoax, it is a pandemic that has gotten worse before it will get better because of his inaction. And in fact, clearly, it is the Trump virus.
This, of course, is the same person who went to Chinatown in San Francisco in February and said, come visit. There's nothing going on here, and any alarmism is obviously rooted in racism. So as Speaker Pelosi attempts to blame the president, Michigan State Representative Beau LaFave is attempting to put the blame where it lies, on China. On Thursday, LaFave introduced House Bill 6025, which requires the state treasurer to tabulate the total cost to the state and send a bill to China. So, Representative LaFave, tell me more about your bill.
Well, Kyle, really appreciate the opportunity today. My bill is very, very simple. We're going to add up all of the cost and the extra cost because of the virus and lost revenue, and we're going to send the bill to China.
That seems simple enough. But what? So this week in Lansing, there has been a lot of drama about the budget and the police being defunded, which I want to talk about that in a second. But sort of give an overview about what is going on with the budget in Lansing and what the legislature and the governor are doing to try and address those shortfalls.
Yeah, the legislature has been shut out completely of negotiation since the virus basically got here in Michigan. The governor is using the 1945 statute to become dictator, essentially, and shut the legislature out. I believe that she wanted some political cover for the necessary cuts that are going to have to be made to take up the $2.2 billion shortfall. So she finally decided to let the legislature in, and we got to negotiate this budget. And I'm glad we did. I'm really glad the governor decided to let the representatives and senators have a say at what's going on. And we were able to come up with a balanced budget that got unanimous vote in the House.
And so basically what she did was she at least portions of the budget, she cut through an executive order. It was the state police, the corrections, and health and human services. And then she used federal funds, coronavirus funds that came from the federal government, to basically kind of backfill, as some people are saying, most of those funds. But, you know, basically what happened was you take the state police, for example, and she cut $115 million through executive order, and then $107 million was replaced, which, according to my government school math, is an $8 million cut. But let's take a step back. The whole reason that your bill is being introduced is because of this very discussion, but that this has taken a massive toll on the state economy and, of course, the state coffers from tax revenue. What really hit me with your bill is that this is a bipartisan bill. You have two, at least right now, as of today, you have two Democrats who have signed on as co-sponsors. What is sort of the talk in the legislature about this? Do you think it will pass? Talk more about that.
Yeah, it is a bipartisan bill because here's the deal. When the virus got here, and it was here and we had community spread, I think that Governor Whitmer made terrible decisions. She shouldn't have put people in nursing homes. Democrats think that Trump is nefarious or evil, and there was a ventilator shortage, or whatever, partisan thing we want to discuss. After the virus gets here, it's an election year. We're going to be playing politics. I get that. But nobody should really be disagreeing that it came from the communist Chinese government that lied to the World Health Organization, threw out reporters, and put people on airplanes and sent them across the world while they had a regional lockdown. So it came from the terrible communist Chinese government, and it's their fault that it left Wuhan province. After it got here, we can discuss, who made big mistakes, you know, whether it be nationally or locally. But it's should be bipartisan agreement that China shares some responsibility for this virus leaving their country in the first place.
Sure. So let's assume that this bill will pass the House and the Senate, and it goes to the governor, and she signs it. What are the steps after that? And realistically speaking, what legal steps can the state of Michigan take to try and recoup some of these funds from the Chinese the communist Chinese government?
Yeah, and I want to be very clear. The people of China are good people. Their government is evil, and they're murdering millions of their citizens through their forced abortions, one China policy, and sterilization of the Uyghurs. So Chinese people are fantastic, but we need to get rid of that repressive government regime they have. But we're going to send them a bill. And somebody asked me the other day, yesterday, and they said, well, China's never going to pay that bill. Why are you going to send them a bill? I said, because I've never gotten paid for an invoice I never sent before. So we're going to send that invoice. And what happens after that? I don't know. I think the international community is going to have some real problems with what happened because of the Chinese covering everything up. I think they're going to be held responsible, hopefully in the international community. But I would like this bill to be first of all, we don't even know how much this thing cost us economically, monetarily. We know the human cost with 6,000 people dead in the state of Michigan is horrible. Mm-hmm. And I can't get those lives back no matter how much they pay us. But we also do have an economic loss, and the taxpayer shouldn't have to fit the bill. So let's send that bill over to China. And I've got a couple ideas that I'd rather not say publicly right now, because if I do, the Chinese Communist government can make some early steps to avoid paying this bill. But I didn't introduce this thinking, that it was going to be just a good press release. I've got some ideas of actually collecting on that bill.
Interesting. So let's turn back to the budget and what happened in Lansing this week. So there's a lot of, debate about whether or not the governor defunded the police, the state police specifically. To me, if you look at what happened, she defunded the police, maybe not in the way that people, sort of interpret it in their minds, but I think, she ultimately did. Excuse me. But what people are not really thinking about is that to the Michigan state government, the 2021 starts October 1st, which is less than 3 months away. And the budget, machinations that went on this week are for this fiscal year, not for 2021. And so there's a massive problem looming in 2021, fiscal year 2021. And so my question to the governor's office, and maybe you can shed some light on this, is what's going to happen in fiscal year 2021 when she has just cut $115 million out of the state police. And I know the state police are important to you in the Upper Peninsula, as they are to many rural parts of the state. But where are those funds going to come from to basically replenish the police? Or is this really defunding the police?
Yeah, so obviously the people of the Upper Peninsula, myself, northern Lower Michigan, and across the state don't want to defund the police. Now, I will tell you, if the police were to be defunded in the Upper Peninsula, it's not going to be fun. But we have citizens that are completely and fully armed and willing to defend their property and their neighbor's property.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
So the Upper Peninsula is going to be fine, but that doesn't mean it's a good public policy. And frankly, it's just very, very rude to do to the good police officers that we have up there. So we'd be okay, but in other parts of our state, that's not the case. And you would see a lot of death and crime, particularly in minority communities who don't deserve anything bad happening at all, but they certainly don't deserve to have Governor Whitmer or any other Democrat politician pandering to woke leftists at the expense of minority lives.
Representative Beau LaFave, thanks for joining me today, and please keep me updated as your bill is considered.
Well, I really appreciate it, Kyle. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much for joining me today. For more of my work, go to Breitbart.com or find me on Twitter, Kyle Olson 4. You can use the same handle for Parler, Kyle Olson 4, KYLEOLSON 4. This is the Kyle Olson Show.